And we're singing. We're singing. Dun, 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 dun. Time to talk. Beauty and the Bitch.
Hi, my name is Ebony Darkness Dementia Raven Way. And I have long ebony black hair, that's how I got my name, with purple streaks and red tips that reaches my mid-back and icy blue eyes like limpid tears. And a lot of people tell me I look like Amy Lee. If you don't know who she is, get the hell out of here. I'm not related to Gerard Way, but I wish I was because he's a major fucking hottie.
Wait, that's weird. Go on.
I'm a vampire, but my teeth are straight and white. I have pale white skin. I'm also a witch, and I go to a magic school called Hogwarts in England, where I'm in my 7th year. I'm 17. I'm a goth, in case you couldn't tell. And I wear mostly black. I love Hot Topic, and I buy all my clothes from there. For example, today I was wearing a black corset with matching lace around it, and a black leather miniskirt, pink fishnets, and black combat boots. I was wearing black lipstick, white foundation, black eyeliner, and red eyeshadow. I was walking outside Hogwarts. It was snowing and raining, so there was no sun, which I was very happy about. A lot of preps stared at me. I put up my middle finger at them.
Golf clap.
Oh, thank you. That's too loud for a golf clap. They would kick you out.
Old people are really deaf, so it actually sounds like it's being lightly clapped. It's actually a very loud clap.
Very loud.
Good job, Grandpa.
You blew me back with that. Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Beauty and the Bitch. I'm Mick.
And I'm Morgan.
And I was just reading from what many people agree is the worst fan fiction ever written. Slash best, obviously. It's called My Immortal. You wrote it, didn't you, Morgan?
I wish.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
I know.
What would I be doing here?
That's true. You actually got important things to do if you'd written that. You could have a whole career, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, life is a sham.
So today, friends, we are covering another fan-made piece of media based around Harry Potter.
That some people think is the worst and also the best.
And I think they have reason for thinking it's the worst and also the best. We're talking about Voldemort Origins of the Heir.
An epic 52-minute drama that plays out for us on YouTube free of charge, which we will link to in our show notes at the end of this in case you have not seen this magical masterpiece / pile of garbage. I don't know.
I
hate it.
It's really both. It's both. Okay, Morgan, can we do together a spoiler-free synopsis?
Yes.
Is this possible?
Okay. So basically, the whole plot arc of Voldemort Origins of the Heir is how did he get from the fun-loving / he had friends and people version of himself he was as a youth in his teen years to where he is, where we know him in the Harry Potter franchise. Like,
where his nose go?
Evil, Dark Lord.
Why his skin that color?
Noseless, pale, like he can't afford to go to the Bahamas.
No.
He can literally apparate.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Well, and we were talking about this before. Like, why does he look this way? He must look this way on purpose, right?
It is a personal choice for him to look gross.
Yeah, and it's a choice that you make a lot, and so I sympathize with it.
Now, I have said this many times, but
what?
You really have to ugg yourself up if you don't want to be harassed in the world.
That's
which
true.
Is a little joke I made, but is actually also the truth.
That's true.
It's also the truth.
That's true. Yeah. And that's sad truth. Sometimes if I don't want people to talk to me on the bus, I try to look as ugly as possible. Do you want to see it? I can do it right now.
Yeah.
What? Did I look ugly?
God.
It was good, right? I got that shit worked out, girl.
I was gonna ask you if you had a pen I could borrow, but then I was like, you know what? I'd rather shove my fist in my mouth.
We would all rather you did that more. I'm just kidding. I love you.
But in real life, we really do think that, it's a big question why Voldemort looks the way he does because he's so gross.
Yeah.
And he's so powerful, he could change anything. And it's a personal choice.
It's got to be a conscious choice, yeah. But so this movie, essentially, it takes place...
Oh my God, I got us nowhere on a recap.
Those couple of glasses of wine you got there, they really led you astray. So essentially, this takes place at the end of Tom Riddle's a career at Hogwarts in his 7th year /
yeah.
a couple years after, it seems
During
like.
his time at Borgin and Burke's, which we knew about, which is canon, that he worked at Borgin and Burke's.
So that's like what, the 5 years after his graduation?
Yeah, but then it flash forwards.
It does. The chronology of the movie is a bit confusing.
It's uncertain.
Yes, just uncertain in general. Yeah, you're right. We never really know how much time.
Because it could cover... Okay, because here's the thing about Voldemort also. Our little baby Voldemort was born on December 31st, 1926. So the span from his teens to Harry Potter time in the 90s?
Yeah.
Many decades. So, a couple of years outside of fucking high school, he's in his 20s to he's in his like fucking 70s or 80s. It's a big time. So it's unclear of like how much time we cover, and also what kind of cream does he use for his skin,
I was just thinking black magic don't crack.
Yeah, that shit's
Black
insane.
magic don't crack because his skin's smooth and flawless.
Girl.
Girl, he don't even have wrinkles around his nose. He got rid of the nose altogether.
You know what? If you don't want crow's feet, you don't need those eyeballs.
No, girl, rip them out your head.
Do away with all of it.
It's, you know what? So it's an interesting movie because in just 52 minutes, it takes us through his entire 7th year and his friendships with this. Well, they create the heirs of each house, right? Heirs, heirs.
I actually loved because it's fascinating for Voldemort to be the heir of Slytherin. So naturally, throughout the reading of Harry Potter, you wonder like, who are the other heirs? Like, where are their descendants? And are they magically powerful? What sort of special abilities do they have? So, of course, you think about that. I love that. I think it's fascinating.
I thought it was smart. I mean, it could be canon. You know what I mean? To
Absolutely.
me, that aspect of the story would have made sense in an actual Harry Potter novel.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. As far as to what happens in this movie, especially without spoilers, not a lot. I mean, things happen... Well,
okay, so
it's hard.
So they did show some canon things, so it's not so much a spoiler. For example, we see a young Voldemort acquiring a couple of his Horcruxes, which we know, of course, he did throughout the course of his young life to create such Horcruxes.
That's really the backbone of the plot of the movie, really. The heirs are kind of like, that explains a lot of the main characters, but really what it's about is Voldemort getting all those artifacts.
Yes, and also the quest of somebody to discover why he would choose to do that. You know what I mean? Because let's talk about just the canon history of Lord Voldemort. Okay. You know what I mean? So this is, first of all, this is a prequel to the Harry Potter series that is an origin story of our villain, which I think begs the question, do you think that is something that we need, and is that a thing that you're interested in?
For me, yes to both, because of where we are with the Harry Potter universe, right? We've got all of the Fantastic Beasts movies coming out, 5 in total. Which is excessive, by the way. It does seem a bit excessive, but maybe some of the later movies are going to be focusing more on exactly this, right? We know that the second movie in the Fantastic Beasts series is going to be about Dumbledore versus Grindelwald. So we're getting close to Voldemort becoming a power. So I'm thinking movies 3 through 5, he might become more and more of a character. We need to do a who would be a young Voldemort casting. Oh my God. Jesse Eisenberg. No, just kidding. Oh, that would be hilarious and awful, and I kind of support it. I really love Jesse Eisenberg, but his turn as Lex Luthor was ill-fated. Well, and here's the thing, too, is he'll have to be British, as per J.K. Rowling. Well, it could be me. I do an English accent. Look, and there you go. So I think that's an interesting thing that they'll have to tackle if they come to a young Voldemort. Somebody young, dashing, a little bit eerie. Because I actually think...
The young person they had playing Voldemort in this film, as far as his looks went, I felt like he kind of was nailing that young, sexy, but like dangerous look.
Stefano Rossi.
Oh,
yes.
his name though.
He's so
girl.
fine.
He is.
Fine.
Yeah.
Like
everyone
almost
was
too
beautiful.
fine. And that's something people had said about the movie as far as a pro of the movie is they're all gorgeous.
Yeah.
So that's something.
Yeah.
Whether or not they can act may be up in the air, but they're definitely good looking.
So you said that you think it is something that we need an origin story, and
I would
it's something
say
you're interested
so.
in. Oh my god, me 100%. When I saw this trailer last year, I was like, "This is brilliant," and obviously the next step.
I remember you telling me about it a year ago, and I forgot, frankly.
An origin story of the greatest villain of the most popular young adult series of all time. Yeah, I think we need it. You know what I mean? Because there's so much history there.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating.
And frankly, the audience is ravenous for it, right?
Exactly.
I mean, we've gone about as far as we can with Harry Potter. You know what I mean?
Well,
especially with Cursed Child, too,
for
in
sure.
the mix. So.
And this is, of course, an unofficial thing, and it already has over 13 million views in the very short time it's been available on YouTube.
So
By the
insane.
time you guys hear this podcast, I'm sure it's up to 30 million.
It's
because
gonna
it's
keep
just
climbing.
like doubling, astronomical.
I don't know how many people are going to watch it more than once, I will say.
I will say for me it's a one and done, but
Yeah.
I'm really glad I watched it once.
I would do it with a drinking game. Kind of like The Room.
I do that too.
I think treating this movie like The Room, it's different. Because I think it's better than The Room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, worst movie of all time, famously. But when it's bad, it's just as bad as The Room.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
But when it's good, it's like, damn, how did they get those pictures to move on this budget? Like some of the stuff compared to the budget. So the budget for this film was 15,000 euros, which is about 23,000 US dollars. So that's, of course, quite a bit of money, but not really for production.
No, when you think about, for example, one episode of Westworld costs $1 million.
Right.
I mean, so if you start thinking about it that way, it's nothing.
Yeah,
it's
nothing.
absolutely nothing.
So some of the special effects were incredible for that budget.
Yes, I thought that
Movie
was
quality.
what the visual effects were stunning. I thought the scenography,
Yeah, the set,
all of the
that.
backgrounds, the props.
The
I mean, all of that.
costuming.
The costume was great. Everything
The
was
details.
gorgeous. It really was gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm with you, girl. Some of the battles they had they looked better than the movies. Some of them.
Yeah,
I thought.
some of them,
I mean, it
honestly.
was absolutely shocking how gorgeous they were. Yeah.
Very nice.
Actually, the movie starts off with an extended battle
Mm-hmm.
that could be very boring. If the special effects weren't good, that could have been immediately boring. But I was into that shit because they were doing different kinds of spells
Yeah.
and like
It was very
There's a lot.
colorful too, and they had this like nice kind of filter over the whole film that was very. It just like drew you in, like it had set the scene, and then it was like vibrant, and Voldemort was just like so pretty with his eyes, and like you suddenly knew what Bellatrix saw in him, like you just knew. You knew
Oh
it
yeah.
all.
If you didn't know when you saw him all noseless and gray, you know now, Queen. You know, that's interesting though, because that 15,000 euros they raised via Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And actually, they did that in 2016. And then last year, Warner Brothers had an injunction against them and almost stopped them. And that's why when when you click on the link to go to the YouTube page, the
It
first
says,
thing you
like,
see is like,
unofficial.
yes, this is non-commercial, this is fan-made. And they had to do that because Warner Brothers was like, you can't just take Harry Potter and start making money. Girl, that's the biggest moneymaker of our generation. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's what they mean by non-commercial. Literally, it had to be non-commercial, otherwise they couldn't make it.
Also, because the set and the scenery, everything was so beautiful, I was reading about like where it was shot, and it's an Italian film, so of course it was just shot around Italy, predominantly in Rome, and so of course everything is just like beautiful and ancient, and so it gives it that kind of otherworldly feel without them actually having to like do anything. So that's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah, the production company that made it is called Triangle with a Y. Triangle. It's an Italian production studio, as you said, Morgie, and the two people who run it, Gianmaria Pezzato
Yeah.
and Stefano Prestia.
Wait, is that like Voldemort?
No, Accusio, Accusio, Stefano. I'm trying. Everything comes off as racist and xenophobic, but I'm doing my best.
Well,
Okay.
America.
And the whole point of their company is to prove that competitive and valuable movies can be made without a huge Hollywood budget. Do you think they succeeded, Morty?
Yes and no, because there are definitely some shortfalls that seems like because you did so well on the other things, like why could you not have closed the gap and gone the distance on, for example, audio mixing?
Oh my God. The dubbing is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's absolutely atrocious.
They filmed half of the movie in Italian and half in English.
Which I don't even understand. That doesn't even make sense.
And then, of course, they dubbed over all the voices, which a lot of most movies dub the voices. So
but they usually do it well.
They do it well. And it's such an amateur dubbing. The acting is horrible in the dubbing, first of all.
Yeah.
Horrible.
The voice acting.
Yeah. Yes.
They don't even try.
It's impossible to tell how good the acting was without the dubbing because the dubbing is so awful and so off that it throws off everything.
For sure.
Hilariously bad.
So in that way, they did not make their point because it seems like perhaps you could have used a little bit of extra dollars to pay either better actors for that or get better equipment and get a better sound mixer because it did not mesh well.
Or you know what? Do it in Italian with subtitles.
Which I would have preferred.
Much preferred.
Yeah.
Much preferred. I wish they just... And you know what, though? In a way, they did kind of prove it because 13 million views. You know what I mean?
Well...
They proved at least that there's an audience for this kind of work.
Which there is.
Yeah, there definitely is. By the way, Morgan, I have no doubt you will surely become the greatest wizard ever.
Well, I have no doubt that that's definitely a quote written about me.
Yeah.
And not about anyone else.
I think that's one of the worst scenes in the movie. This happens early in the movie. It is a character that we know, but it's a different actress playing her because she's supposed to be younger. Okay, first of all, this is a 30-year-old woman playing a second-year Hogwarts student.
Oh, aging?
Girl, they put her in pigtails. They said, oh, she's a second year.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And then that awkward, tortured line is a line she says to him in like the first scene of the movie. And I was immediately like, oh my God, this is trash treasure.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for the rest of this movie. Love it. I thought it got really boring though. I will say boring about halfway through.
It had some lulls, because it felt like they were trying to make it like so very, very serious, and it could have either, I don't know if they should have either thrown in different like story elements instead of following this one story where it's like a lady recounting like a story about Voldemort, like secondhand information. Like maybe they should have just, I don't know. The perspective kind of made it drag. But when it was interesting, I felt like it was interesting. I didn't care. There was like this whole like Russian people element and like...
So basic like plot device is one of the characters who is, we think, a heroine, she's a heroine, is being interviewed / interrogated by this Russian auror with one dead eye, which they reveal like it's something really shocking. It's so funny. He's got one blind eye, whoop-de-doo. And she has Veritaserum being dripped into her at the same time, like via an IV. So she's telling the story. I agree with you. I think that slowed it down hugely. I hate it every time. Every time we went back to that interrogation room, I was like, bitch, really? It must be because of money. It has to be. But I wish she had been the first scene and the last scene. Like it bookended and then never gone back to that.
Right. Like we don't need to hear her telling, like we understand she's telling the story.
Yeah. But that must have been a money consideration because it's far cheaper to tell than to show. So, but yeah, I agree with you. I think that's one of the biggest problems with that movie is going back to that fucking dark room over and over.
Yeah. What else about it? I think that because they had these like older people kind of playing younger people, like it made it really hard for me to when they were switching from like we're at Hogwarts to like now we're full-fledged adults and like we have grandchildren. Right. I was like, where are we? Like when are we? Like what's happening here?
And that exactly, it was like a movie out of time, partially because as we said, none of the ages matched up throughout the whole fucking thing. So it was like, you know, the guy who played Tom Riddle played him in every scene. Whereas the other students, there was a young them. I mean, he's gorgeous, but It's just some people aged hugely. Some people were 30 years old when they were supposed to be 12. Like, it was just very confusing. Age and time were unclear.
You know what else I think was hilarious is we had this, like you said, the heirs, and they were very much like the culmination of their house qualities or whatever.
Yeah.
And like the Hufflepuff kid that was like in love with like the Gryffindor
Lazarus
girl.
Smith.
He was like so derpy.
I know.
And he was like, I shall take on Tom Riddle, most powerful wizard of our year. And if I win, you'll marry me. Which is like, okay, first of all, aggressive.
Isn't he also the one, this is another one of my favorite lines, doesn't he at one point say, Tom, you'd like everybody to listen to Tom. Do you remember that line?
Yeah.
I was like, girl, what a horribly written line. Yeah, he's ridiculous. But you know who I find actually hilarious?
Ravenclaw?
Yes, the heir of Ravenclaw.
Ravenclaw.
His name is Wigloff Sigurdsson II. And this motherfucker, this crow-ass motherfucker with his eyeliner.
Oh, his eyeliner.
My God, I couldn't with this man.
His apathy. Like, he literally was like, BRB, while I take the earbuds out of my ear, I'm listening to My Chemical Romance. Are you talking to me right now? So emo, but also so like in that Ravenclaw manner, like just above it all, just like I'm here because I have to be and not because I want to be, and I have better things to be doing, and I'm too smart to engage in like these quips with you guys and like whatever. And then of course, heir of Slytherin, Tom Riddle swooping in. Hello, how are you? I'm just standing up here on a balcony, like clutching a skull, staring into the distance, being myself.
I also thought that was very unclear. So they're in the room of requirement for this scene. This is an early scene, so this isn't a bad spoiler. And it's the 4 heirs. We haven't talked about Grisham McLaggen, who's the heir of Gryffindor, made up for the movie, as are the 2 guys. But they're all in this room together. They know they're all heirs, but I couldn't work out like how close they were to Tom Riddle. Like, I felt like their relationships were very unclear. Were they friends? Were they enemies? Were they in a secret society together? It
certainly seemed like secret society. Like, they were forced to be grouped together
because they're all heirs,
but that they were also kind of friends in spite of it, because like why else would they be hanging out? Like, none of them really seemed like they wanted to be there, but maybe it was that sort of like begrudging friendship, like, you know, siblings sort of thing,
or like mine with you. I'm just kidding.
You know what I mean, though? Like, like they were forced to be together, but then it was just kind of like creature of habit, natural sort of thing. And then, of course, Grisham whatever, she was like in love with Tom Riddle. Obviously.
Heir of Gryffindor in love with Voldemort, which who wouldn't be?
Girl.
I mean, he's so good. Especially if what you have to choose from is Lazarus Smith and fucking the Crow over there. I'm over it.
Yeah, the Crow.
Well, and maybe they had been closer when they were younger. Like, maybe they found out. Because we know that... How old was Voldemort when he opened the Chamber of Secrets? Wasn't he a second year?
Second year. Yeah.
So he's No, he wasn't.
5th year.
5th year. I think you're right. And he attacked a second year. And then, what's-her-ass, Ginny was a first year, right? Yes, and Harry was a second year when the chamber was reopened.
Yeah,
Harry was a second year. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Anyway, but like, so Voldemort throughout his time at Hogwarts, he's learning that he's the heir of Slytherin. He's getting more and more evil. Maybe they were friends when they were early in Hogwarts.
Maybe, and that begs the question to me, like, how young were they when they were forced into their discovery that they were all... Because you know what I mean? Because Tom Riddle supposedly... When did he find out he was the heir of Slytherin? Like, he didn't even know Slytherin existed till he was, like, 12 years old.
Yeah.
You know, because he lived in a Muggle orphanage.
But he started moving fast.
He did.
If he opened that Chamber of Secrets by his 5th year,
he moved very fast. Well, he already knew he could speak to snakes.
Yes, he
but,
learned
like,
that early.
What was... You know what I mean? Because he was an orphan, what was his path to, like, immersion into the wizarding world? Because, as you know, pureblood wizards, they don't like... mudbloods, which he was. So, like, how, like, did some grandfatherly wizard come to him and say, I'm Merope Gaunt's great uncle, and she died without telling you, but turns out you're the heir of Slytherin. And, like, you know, how the fuck did he find out? And then he has these other friends, and they were like, oh, my mom said you were the heir of Slytherin, so we're in a secret club together.
Right. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a reason they didn't cover that. Maybe they were like, girl, that's too hard. We do know that Dumbledore is the one that saved him from the orphanage.
We do.
So, but we also know that Dumbledore didn't trust him, even from an early age.
But Dumbledore also would have known he was the heir of Slytherin, I bet. Because he's not a dummy with genealogy. He knows the gaunts. He keeps up.
Exactly. So I'm thinking, and we also know too, like, you know, by the time Harry comes along, Dumbledore is very afraid of giving too much information.
Yes.
Maybe that's because he gave Voldemort too much information, and he feels like he gave him a jump start on that path towards greatest evil wizard of all time.
Wow.
I mean, it could definitely be.
Yeah, that's a thought. I think it's really important to consider Tom Riddle as a character and where he came from on this quest, like the whole point of this prequel, his arc to becoming evil, because he and we've talked about this before, he is the product of his mother, Merope Gaunt, falling in love with Tom Riddle Sr., a muggle who did not love her. She fed him love potion until he did love her. They escaped and got married after her brother Morphin and her dad
Crackly ass Glorfindel.
Whatever the fuck their names are.
That ugly, angry man.
Whenever they went to prison for, like, torturing muggles or some shit, she stole away and she got Tom on her side, and then 3 months later she was pregnant with his baby, and then when she was at the end of her pregnancy she felt guilty about the love potion, so she said, you know, at this point I have his baby, he's gonna love me, I'm gonna just quit this. That is not the situation, and he abandoned her, and in her grief and her sadness she delivered her baby in an orphanage and she died. So he was brought into the world in, like, literally the most, like, the saddest of circumstance, honestly. And then he sat in that orphanage for 11 years.
Torturing the other children.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's fucked up. And so I think it begs the question, like, is he inherently evil? And this is kind of one of those, like, Damien 666 child situations. Like, was he inherently evil when he was born into that unfortunate situation of sadness and, like, unlove and abandonment? Or did his time in that orphanage turn him? Is it something innate, heir of Slytherin, horrible family? Is it all of that? Or is it this orphanage thing? Nature or nurture?
I mean, it's a big universal question, right? I mean, and it's one of those things that's really hard to answer. I think we talked about in an earlier podcast that because he was, what's the word when you make a baby in someone's belly? Starts with a C?
Sexed.
Because he was sexed.
Conceived,
thank you. Because he was conceived under a love potion, we think that it's a fan theory that he may be incapable of loving. Almost as a curse that goes with that.
It certainly seems that way.
I mean, he seems... When there's a small child in orphanage who's already torturing other children because he can, that to me lends credence to he was born as a psychopath, you know, or a sociopath. But I mean, that's always the question, right? That's the same question people ask about you. They say, was she born this way? Or did her really wretched, horrible life in which she made many mistakes and accomplished nothing make her this way? And I always tell people it's a little of both.
Well, you think I quit making these same mistakes?
I'm not a mistake. I'm a bright point in your life.
And that's what Voldemort tried to tell his mother.
That's true.
But she was dead, so she couldn't hear him.
She couldn't hear it.
R.I.P. Merope Gaunt.
Oh.
December 31st, 1929.
That's another life I would like to hear told about, by the way.
Oh,
I think she's a very sympathetic character.
I think it's so sad. I think her story would be immensely depressing.
Could you imagine? It would be almost like if she did it, if they made it so it was like To Kill a Mockingbird plus The Notebook with a tragic ending. You know what I mean?
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I think it could be really... To me, Voldemort's family history always reminds me of To Kill a Mockingbird because it's very similar. It's like that outcast nature. And you know in To Kill a Mockingbird, that really plain white girl gets raped by a black man. It's not rape, but she says later it's rape. And so they kill the black man. And the father of that real plain trash girl comes in. To me, he sounds like Voldemort's grandfather. Just nasty, alcoholic, abusive. He comes in.
Self-righteous,
full of hate, you know, whatever. And obviously it tracks too, you know, wizards are the white, you know, privileged people in the town, whereas black people are the muggles. They have less power, less institutional power.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. But anyway, I wish someone would tell Merope's story.
It could be a sad, sad ballad. Yeah, it'd be a really interesting story to follow.
I love her.
Yeah, what other tales we would like to hear? I think that's fascinating. A Merope Gaunt story. I'd love to hear maybe a founder story, like a story about the founders.
Yes, I think there's definitely room for
Especially because they obviously had drama because they broke up. Their friendship broke up, which,
They
as we know, is worse than regular
very
breakups.
difficult. Yeah, they don't make cards for that shit.
No.
I looked. I've
Yeah.
been trying to break up with you for 10 years.
Well,
I guess I just did it.
girl, bye.
It finally worked. That's definitely something I would love to see. I would love to see stories about the other schools, right?
Oh my god,
We have all those other schools.
A Durmstrang story.
Yes, queen.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, what's his ass? Leader of Durmstrang? Karkaroff. He's the boy at the very end of this movie, Voldemort, Order of the Heir. I missed him, but all the fans sound like he picks something up in like the last minutes of the movie. It's supposed to be young Karkaroff.
Okay.
I don't know what exactly you're talking about. I can't. Look, I watched this movie twice, and I have to tell you both times I got bored by the end.
You watched it twice?
I did watch it twice, yeah.
I think that's interesting because that would kind of make sense. Like, why do we have to suffer through this, like, Russia storyline if it was to see a glimpse of a Karkaroff?
I think that's really
origin
why
story?
the payoff
Not
was.
that I give a shit about a Karkaroff origin story because he went nowhere, did nothing.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
But I think stories about other schools, like A Year in the Life of Beauxbatons, or what's the one, Ilvermorny or something.
Ilvermorny,
yeah, which we're gonna
bring
get
it
plenty
to North
of that,
America,
I guess. But
yeah, in Fantastic Beasts.
But yeah, those origin stories. I would love to see an Order of the Phoenix story, like the birth of that, and like Lily and James and young Sirius and Lupin and a younger Dumbledore, Molly and Arthur being young, and
yeah, I would love to see that. Oh, and Neville's parents. I would love to meet them before they go crazy. I mean, if people are interested in doing so, Rowling has created a universe in which there are a bajillion stories left to tell.
Isn't that crazy? It's immense.
It's very impressive. I mean, but it speaks to people's love that we still want more. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, normally at this point, you'd be like, okay, it's over, on to the next thing, but we just can't do that with Harry Potter.
Which, to be honest, is where I'm at with Game of Thrones. Like, can we just get it over with at this point?
I know.
Like, I am intrigued for the ending, but I'm almost just, like, ready to be done with it.
I totally agree. Me too. Well, speaking of stories we would like to see more about, I've got a quick top 5 list of fan-made Harry Potter media. Yes. So this is my top 5 of about almost the last 10 or so years, okay? So, number 5, best fan-made Harry Potter media. I've got a short called Wingardium Leviosa. Now, you may not know about it right now.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you have. You have.
Oh.
It's Wingardium Leviosa. Leviosa. Stop, Ron. Stop, Ron. Do you don't remember it?
No.
Oh, you totally know it. It's where it's an animated short, and Ron's doing the thing, but he's doing it wrong, and Professor Flitwick is like, Leviosa, and Hermione's like, it's Leviosa, Ron. And then he makes her dress go up. And then Snape comes in, and they both make her dress go up.
I literally have not seen this.
Okay, I'm going to have to... Okay, so if you're interested, if you don't recognize this, I bet some of you do. It's Wingardium Leviosa. It has 41,200,000 views on YouTube.
Holy shit.
It's by a group called Oni Cartoons. But yeah, I think you'll know it. I'll show it to you after we finish, girl. But it's just short. It's cute. Okay, number 4 is a fan-made film called The Greater Good, starring Voldemort and Grindelwald. Not Voldemort, Dumbledore and Grindelwald. Okay. Have you seen this?
I don't know.
Oh, it's very sexy, very homoerotic.
Oh, I'm ready.
And it is ready. Yes, my body is ready. It is about the battle that led to the death of Dumbledore's sister and the end of Grindelwald and Dumbledore's friendship.
How long is this?
It's very short. It's 18 minutes.
Oh, God.
18 minutes long, but it's beautifully shot.
Oh.
Again, the magic, the battles, really gorgeous.
I really want to see this, like, immediately.
Yes, it's right up your alley. I think you would really enjoy it. I loved it. And the guys who play the two wizards, girl.
Like what kind of homoerotic action do we get?
It's nothing explicit. It's more in the way that they look at each other and the actions that they take.
Okay.
I wish it was more explicit. No kisses, no nipples, nothing like that. But there's definitely a tension there that has got to be on purpose.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And Aberforth is in it too.
Oh, what's he look like?
He's the less attractive brother. I mean, he's not bad. If I saw him in real life, I'd think, oh, cute guy. But against these two gentlemen, he's forgettable.
Oh, girl.
Not his fault. Okay. So, number 3, countdown in this Harry Potter fan-made media, the Very Potter musical.
Yeah.
Yes, you know that one. Have you watched that in its entirety?
Shit, I don't know how long it is. I've seen quite a bit of it on YouTube.
Yes. Well, and that's where it lives these days.
Okay.
Because, so it is a musical, full-length musical that stars Darren Criss from Glee.
Sure.
Right? He's Christopher Colfer's boyfriend on Glee. He was the writer and the star, or at least co-writer. Mm-hmm.
Good for him.
I know, right? And it was only performed 3 times at the University of Michigan. And it was performed back in 2009, so it's actually quite old, almost 10 years old now. But anyway, it's really good, really funny.
Yeah.
And Darren Criss he plays Harry Potter.
So talented.
And he's great. Yeah, he's super young when he did that. He's great. Okay. And if you want to find that, like I said, it lives only on YouTube. It's the only place you can find it these days. Number 2, countdown of this fan-made media, fan-made film called Snape and the Marauders.
Oh, I don't know this one either.
Yes. 25 minutes long. And it is about the fight between Snape and the 4 Marauders. You know, James, Sirius, Lupin, and of course, Wormtail. Yeah. And it's really good. And the actor who plays Snape is actually fantastic. Fantastic actor. So I really recommend that. By the way, both The Greater Good, which is the one I was telling you about earlier, the fan-made film, and Snape and the Marauders are by this production company called Broad Strokes. Ooh, just so you know.
Dream team.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so those are both good. Okay, and then the number 1. Obviously, I'm not talking about Voldemort Origins of the Heir, because we spend so much time on that. Number 1, best fan-made media of all time
is
My Immortal.
You love it.
Which is why I love it.
So great.
So we start off talking.
It's literally so ridiculous.
It is so badly written, but it's so good though. It hits all those buttons for me. It was written when the woman who wrote it, supposedly, when she wrote it, she was 15.
Yeah.
And she says now she wrote it as almost a parody of fan fiction. I don't think so, bitch.
At 15.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think she was doing her best to write fan fiction, and it was a parody because that's where she was in her life at the time.
Yeah. And so there is some drama about like who is the creator of My Immortal. And so recently last year, a girl kind of emerged and came forward and it was kind of determined that she was the writer. What's her name? Rose?
It's Rose Christo. She's a young adult author. Okay. Rose Christo.
And yeah, and so now she's like writing other works that will be published in real life that she wants you to purchase, and so she's trying to capitalize on like, remember me from My Immortals? Mm-hmm. But some people are saying they don't think it was her, so that's a little bit of drama.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not her. I have no fucking idea, but I do think it's very I don't know if I believe her just because she stands to make so much money.
She's alive.
I mean, she might be, you know. Oh, I don't believe that anyone wrote it as parody, though. I wish people would stop trying to front right now with that. Do you remember how much sex is in this fan fiction, by the way?
Yeah.
She has like a threesome with Harry and Draco.
Which, can you blame her?
I mean, no. I look, I'm not mad at her, but it's really raunchy and like... so good. You guys have to, if you don't know it, you've got to look it up. My Immortal, just Google it. It'll come right up. It's so funny.
Oh my god, I'm gonna take a screenshot of all your things and go home and watch them immediately.
Yes.
So I'm gonna do tonight for sure.
I found those 2 fan films I said, they're both good. Like, they're both at least as good as Voldemort Origins of the Heir, but just much shorter. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Man. Yeah. So much good content for the world.
Girl, keep yourself busy. Can I ask you, speaking of like Harry Potter related content, Do you think that The Cursed Child, the play that Rowling wrote?
The one I'm going to go see.
Yes, exactly. When are you seeing that soon?
June 8th.
June 8th? I'm so jealous. Do you think it's good?
Yeah.
I think it's good too. And a lot of people online were saying that it's horrible.
I can't agree.
I don't think at all.
I think there are things about it, like we have talked about this. It seemed like she co-wrote it. It seemed like they went out of their way to have kind of a big no-homo moment at the end.
Yeah.
When the two of the characters just obviously seemed like they were meant to be together romantically, and that was what was happening, and that was where they were at in their young lives, and it was perfect, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful convergence of these two people coming together, and then it just wasn't. To me, that's the most disappointing part of this whole thing. To me, that was extremely disappointing, and that's upsetting. And we are having an issue with what the fuck are they doing with the gay agenda in this Harry Potter world, because they're skirting it as much as they possibly can, and I can't for the life of me understand what value add that has for the franchise.
You know what's
interesting? It doesn't make any sense.
So, Morgie, you know this, but listeners may not necessarily know. I went on an extreme day of online arguments about... You did. Yes, I did. I went literally 12 hours on Facebook and Reddit and just anywhere that would have me because, essentially, because they've said now that in the next... Fantastic Beasts. Is that what it's called?
The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Crimes of Grindelwald, yeah. In this next movie that's coming out, there's not going to be anything explicit between Dumbledore and Grindelwald.
They said one of his crimes will not be homosexuality, unfortunately.
Which makes is a me bummer. Insane.
Yeah.
Well, it's more than a bummer for me. It's actually, it's testing my how much of a fan I am, because there are no queer characters in the Harry Potter world. Now, Rowling said after the fact that Dumbledore's gay, but that's not canon. She said that at a fucking interview, nowhere is it written that he's gay. And they're covering what is his gayest moment. Yeah. His big breakup fight with the love of his life, Grindelwald.
Which should be very flamboyant.
It doesn't have to be stereotypical in any way, but at some point, I need them to look into each other's eyes and say something. Someone has to say something about romantic love. There's got to be something there. Otherwise, it's bullshit lip service. And I'm really fucking over it. I'm actually furious. And I'm mad at J.K. Rowling. I'm mad at her. Yeah. And especially because she wrote back the next day after the controversy hit and the internet blew up, and she was like, I'm just blocking people. No one asked me, and everyone's mad. They haven't even seen the movie yet. That's not the way to deal with that. Forgive me 1,000 times, but that is not the way to deal with that. What you should say, J.K. Rowling, is, I support you. I love queer people. You will have an explicitly queer character. It's a little bit difficult to get through, but I'm trying my best. That's how you are an ally. I don't care how much she's done for me via the world of Harry Potter. She's not being a good ally right now.
Yeah.
And I'm so mad.
It's not good, and it is really upsetting because it's such a great opportunity. It wouldn't take much effort to forge that relationship. Honestly, they wouldn't have to change literally anything, because guess what?
Anything.
It's just a thing. Just put it there. Just make it happen. And they are being really fucking stupid about that, and they did that in The Cursed Child, which I didn't appreciate. But overall, for the other stuff in The Cursed Child, I'm really excited to see it on stage, because my favorite part was all the things that happened in the margins, right?
Yes.
Setting the scene and all these things on stage. So the content of the story, you know what it is? It's a play. Yeah. So people who read it, if they're not used to reading a play, they're not gonna number one, understand or like the format. But because maybe we have a background in theater, to me it was a very quick, a very easy read. I understood everything. I got all the details in the margins, and everything else was just dialogue, essentially.
I think you are 100% right, Morgie, because when you read a play, there's so much imagination, visualization that has to happen, and that's a skill. I think reading plays is a skill. Sounds ridiculous, but I remember when I started reading plays, I never liked a play that I read, because it's not spelled out for you the way it is in a novel or a short story. I agree with you. I think that's the reason people are like, it's horrible. It's just because of the format of the work. I think it'll be a good play, and I'm totally jealous you get to see it.
I'm really excited.
And if you see J.K. Rowling, let her know that I'm legit mad at her.
Yeah, I will be
let her know.
I will be like, number one, can we get a selfie? But then like after that, I'll be like,
yes.
but also fuck you.
But also like, you've done so much for me, but now you're hurting my feelings.
I truly don't know what they're gonna do, and I really, really hope that they take strides in the next 3 excessive films they're making in this franchise to make up somehow for this travesty that they have done and this thing that doesn't make any sense because Dumbledore and Grindelwald are in love and that's just the way it is.
A lot of people online are saying it's because of China, the Chinese market, because they're so because for one thing, there's a lot of money to be made out of China.
Yeah,
and they're
it's always about money.
And they're very censorious over there, and they don't like to see a same-sex relationship. So, and you know what? I understand we all have to make our fucking money. That's fine. But if you're working to appease homophobic people, then you lose me as a fan and an audience member. And the thing is, Harry Potter's not going to die. The fans aren't all going to leave it. But I can leave for what it's worth. I really don't want to do that. But they've got to make it right. Because I mean, I don't spend 12 hours fucking typing online for no reason. You know what I mean? I'm lazy as fuck.
You are.
I'm like, I'm lit about this subject. I'm lit. Anyway.
Well, and you should be, and I support your passion on it.
Thank you, baby. I appreciate you.
And I'm an ally in your passion because
yes, you are.
I also think that it's fucked up.
Yes, and I'd forgotten about that shit in Cursed Child. I remembered it being, gay, queerish all the way through. I forgot at the end, they're like, and we both have girls we like.
They're like, I'm gonna go fuck a woman now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was upsetting. Sorry. I have back to Voldemort.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Been thinking since I saw Origins of the Heir, because we see him so much as Tom Riddle, and it's easy to kind of forget about that mostly throughout Harry Potter because he is Voldemort to us and Tom Riddle's a figment of his past, like a wisp of what he once was. And I recently saw Lady Bird, which I loved and I think is a very feminist, female empowering movie that is definitely not for everyone. So when somebody's like, I don't like it, I get it, but I don't agree. And she gave herself the name Lady Bird. Like there was this really great quote where somebody was like, what's your name? And she's like, it's Lady Bird. And they're like, why is it in quotes? And they're like, is it your given name? She says, yes, I gave it to me. It is given to me by me. My name. Which is essentially what Lord Voldemort did. So motherfucker's just sitting around one day. He literally draws his name in the sky, Tom Marvolo Riddle, and he's just sitting there with a wand and wisping little anagrams. What could my name possibly be? Until he just wisps it into the right formation that he gets, I am Lord Voldemort. Now, let me tell you, I know how you feel, but
I've got feelings.
Let me get a second in.
I'm giving it to you.
As a young me, when I saw that little rearranged, I am Lord Voldemort, I was not super familiar with anagrams as a young person. It was a literary device that I vaguely had heard of. So to me, I was like, whoa, mind blown. Oh my God, they rearranged some words and it's his name. So I thought it was so cool. But now, as a refined adult, as I am.
Well, as an adult.
Fuck you.
Okay.
I also think it's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
It's kind of dumb, right?
It's super dumb. Yeah. Look, you know how I feel about this. If you make an anagram of your name, 3 of the words of your given name cannot become I am. That is just...
Unless it's I am Sam, and then it's okay.
No, never!
Oh, I'm sorry. Sam I am.
Yeah, well, yes. In that case, I am is almost like his last name, right? Yeah. I guess. I could give it to you there. But no. That's not how anagrams work. You can't just do that. And I get he's the greatest dark wizard of all time and blah, 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 whatever. He can do whatever he wants. But that is a lazy-ass anagram. Lazy.
I'm not saying I disagree. You know what?
I know we agree on this.
You know what?
But now I'm just all fired up in general.
Voldemort is a cool word.
It is.
But Marvolo Riddle...
It's also a great name.
It's a great name.
Yeah.
Granted, Tom, basic.
Yeah. He could change that to Mott, though. Mott Marvolo Riddle.
Oh, I'm actually
greatest dark wizard of all time. Right?
MMR, which is a shot you give to your babies, and they even get booster shots.
See? Yes.
He's like a booster shot. He's like evil.
A little bit evil now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
also,
making the kids cry.
He's really pretty, too.
Then he is. Yeah, before he gets his nose slits on.
So, it's just like an interesting thing. Because also, sorry, Ladybird connection. To me, the thought was like, what's in a name? Because that's kind of the journey that she goes on to, like, without giving Ladybird spoilers. Like, she tries to embody herself so much. Like, she's Ladybird. She's this identity that she came up with, which is just like Voldemort. He's like, this is me. This is my persona. I'm leaving behind the shell of Tom Marvolo Riddle. And she wanted to leave behind the shell of Christy, whatever the fuck her name was. But when she gets to the end of the film, she kind of has this sort of realization, like, do I really want to leave behind Christy, whatever bitch, you know?
And can you?
Yeah, and can you? So for him, he spends so much of his life trying to erase who he was to the point of like splitting his soul into different pieces so he can live forever. And he gets mad when people bring up Tom Riddle, and he's like, "That's not my name. That's not my name." And everybody's like, actually kind of is. And he's like, "I am Lord Voldemort. Did you see the anagram?" You know what I mean?
Do you think he just does it? Has he done that anagram trick over and over? When people are like, "Hey, Tom," and he's like, okay.
Whips it out.
We've been through this. He just writes it in the air.
Dude, what else does Tom Marvolo Riddle anagram to? There's got to be a website for this. We've
Tons of horrible anagrams by Tom Riddle.
Oh my god, I'm gonna Google the shit.
Yeah,
it
probably exists.
There's probably some really dope ones.
Yeah, I love the name. I think Lord Voldemort's a great name. I don't think the anagram thing was even necessary at all. I think it's a misstep.
Like, well, I guess she wanted to make him, like, tie him to his humanity. Like, he was once a young person in Hogwarts just like you, right? Like, he was a student. He walked these halls and went to the same classes. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think Marvolo is a really cool name.
I think it's a great name. And Riddle is literally the Riddler took that and ran with it. And has been running for like almost a century. Yeah. Close to a century.
It worked for him.
Century-ish. Not quite a century.
Well, which is about how
like
old
60
fucking
years.
Voldemort is.
Exactly. Ancient.
Well, was.
Let me ask you this. Marry, fuck, kill. Tom, Lazarus, Wiggloff.
Lazarus is the crow?
No, he's the Hufflepuff.
Okay, so I'll kill him.
Good choice.
I'm gonna fuck the crow.
You're gonna fuck old droopy-eyed eyeliner man?
Well, I ain't trying to marry that fool.
Okay, well, fair enough there.
And I'm gonna...
You're gonna marry Tom Riddle?
Yeah, and I'm gonna be like, look at me, Bellatrix. You
Girl.
wish you had what I had. You wish you had what I had. You wish you had what I had.
I am Lord Voldemort.
Which is what he would. That's actually how he like gets pumped in the mornings.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Like,
well, you were being you, and I was being Lord Voldemort behind you. You know, shimmy, anagram.
Yeah. I'm gonna marry him for show. Because then also he like leaves for a hot minute, but I think he's actually like has a lot of money, so like I can probably still go to that bank account.
Fuck yeah!
Plus he's got all these servants that can just do things for me.
Girl.
And he stays youthful forever. He's got the fountain of youth. Yeah, I think it's gonna work out just fine.
Now, what if he was like 10 years in? He was like, "Hey, baby, I like you, but I'd love you if you didn't have no nose and just had no slits."
I knew this was gonna be an issue.
Well,
and I, for one, never hated Michael Jackson's look.
So you're willing to go noseless?
I'd be willing to try it.
I'm gonna try imagining you without a nose.
It's really one of my better features, so I'm not sure.
You do have a good nose.
I'm not sure that he would enjoy.
I don't know. You're gonna have to stop wearing glasses for one thing. He's gonna have to magically finish your vision.
I'll just have to wear 2 monocles, duct tape to the sides of my face.
Oh my god. He's gonna lock your ass in a closet.
Harry Potter's got fucking magic. He can't just laser LASIK his eyeballs. Hermione didn't learn that spell in like one of her books. She didn't check out Lasers a History.
Wizarding magic is not where it should, or medicine is not where it should be, Queen. Because people are always, I mean, Madame Pomfrey can do a lot. But there are a lot of people walking around with mental and physical ailments that I think could easily be fixed by magic. But, I mean, whatever.
Mending with Madame Pomfrey, a memoir.
Ooh. Sounds really boring, though. Madame
Yeah.
Pomfrey. Unless
know.
it came with spells.
You know, Madame Pomfrey, she fucks.
You?
No, she
Voldemort?
fucks people.
Oh, she fucks around?
She fucks around.
Not Professor Flitwick, though.
Well,
I mean, he's got to get that wick flit.
maybe she's more into Professor Sprout.
Oh, I'm
Professor
into that. I'm into that. I'm into that.
Trelawney.
I'm into that. You're right. She does have that lesbian feel about her.
Yeah.
Both Sprout and
Professor
Pomfrey.
Sprout.
Definitely a
a
lesbian.
rug
Oh, and hawk-eyed lady who does
Miss Madam Hooch.
Madam
Oh,
Hooch.
that lady with her butch cut. Yeah, for sure.
And Trelawney's the femme lesbian in the group, and they all hang out in that attic.
Oh my god.
Girl.
And they get high as fuck.
Clam
and they
diving.
read tea leaves.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes.
I want to go to there.
The tea leaves are telling me you're gonna get eaten out really well.
And then the music. Boom, boom, boom,
boom.
Dude.
Lesbian sex.
Why are we not writing this fan fiction?
Girl,
Literally gold.
let's do that. You know what? We can get one of those
Literally.
things that just transcribe our words. We don't even have to type. Because this story just told itself.
I actually didn't even turn the microphones on. We're just talking into this room right
Oh,
now.
awesome. My life's a joke.
It is, though. It truly is.
Okay, Tom Riddle.
Okay.
Trying to be all mean to me.
I am Lord of Voldemort. Then now I feel his pain. This is bullshit. I have told you what my name is. This is bullshit.
Okay. Do you have anything else to say about this by turns wonderful and horrible movie?
I really think everyone should watch it.
I think so too.
52 minutes of joy and boring and like ridiculousness, but also some really amazing stuff, a lot of insight, and just kind of good, like shit that gets you going. If you're a Harry Potter fan, get you kind of thinking, you know, so that's good. I'm into it.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. There is one more thing I wanted to say. Can we talk about how the Hufflepuff Cup is fucking tiny? Do you remember that shit?
Yes, and I think it's that way in the
Girl.
regular movies too.
Itsy bitsy. Well, and you know what? That's fine.
Oh,
To
what's
me,
the
that
point?
fits. Of course, Hufflepuff. This is a fucking egg cup, girl.
What you even
That's
put in
a
it?
tiny cup. An egg,
And it's
literally,
got a handle
like a
on
soft
both
boiled
sides.
egg.
It's actually got like a
Girl.
lid that it's missing. It's a sippy cup
I
for
can't
a
even.
baby.
I can't even. When they pull out, because there's a scene where they pull out the Hufflepuff cup or whatever.
If I was
and
Tom Riddle, I'd be
it's
like, never
being
mind.
held between. Exactly. I'd be like, this tiny ass fucking fuck Hufflepuff. Fuck them.
Like all of the other heirlooms are
Yeah.
epic.
Huge. Yeah, that gorgeous, a piece of jewelry, a giant sword, a beautiful diadem, right?
And
then,
a tiny shot glass with two handles, so you have to hold it like you're jacking up two of the world's smallest dicks.
it is so stupid.
It doesn't make sense.
I died. That is one time when that movie made me laugh so fucking hard. Hepzibah Smith pulls that shit out with two fingers, and I was like, girl,
Also, that
put
lady,
that thimble back.
lady was cray-cray.
Hepzibah Smith! Yes, and she's canon.
Hepzibah Smith.
Yeah.
She is canon. I kind of wonder, like, is that who I would be if I lived in this universe? Just some old crazy lady who's like a hoarder, and she's like, look at all my goodies.
Yeah.
And she invites attractive young men over and, like, wears all of her jewelry in one night.
Ugh.
I am her.
Oh, no. You're totally not her. She's got a gross mouth. You don't have a gross mouth.
Well, I'm not British.
You got a pretty mouth.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm American. I go
Ish.
to Ilvermorny.
Well, you're a woman, so are you really an American?
Oh, those Ilvermorny houses are like a little bit Native American racist.
Wampus.
Yeah,
Or
they're,
is that one?
they're like spirit animal house. and-
Thunderbirds, one of
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Well, it was an attempt.
Actually,
Actually, that's a similarity between this and American Gods, which we talked about in another episode, because Neil Gaiman also pulls in a bunch of Native American mythology,
Yeah.
Thunderbirds and stuff.
Yeah. Well, they are there for the taking, just like everything else we took from them. So,
Mm-hmm. You know what they say? You give a white man an inch, he'll take 10,000 miles.
or your whole fucking country. Is that 10,000 miles? I literally have no concept of how
I
far
don't
from
know.
coast to coast.
No, I have no
It
idea.
could literally be hundreds of thousands of miles or like 50. I
Yeah.
really don't.
It's actually, the Earth is flat, And
well, that's a given.
Yeah, that's obvious.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was little, though, and living on Native American reservation, I had a shirt that said that. And give a white man an inch and he'll take 10,000 miles. Or whatever. I don't know if that was the number. But can you just imagine tiny, blonde, green-eyed me?
Yeah.
Pale
I was like,
as the driven
You're the
snow.
whitest person in your family.
I am.
A bad choice.
I'm the whitest person. Walking around this reservation at 6 years old wearing that shirt.
Yep. And you're like, give me money.
I've always been an icon, okay?
Whoa.
Always an icon.
Diva. I am Lord Voldemort.
I'ma tell you again.
And everyone's like, no one asked. Like, nobody called you Tom. Like, we're literally just having dinner. We get it. We get it.
Okay, Queen. Do you have anything else about this craziness?
Do you think you, like, printed business cards? Like, just to clarify.
And there was no contact information. It just says, I am Lord Voldemort.
And then as soon as you touched it, also, like, it was covered in poison and you were
Oh,
dead.
totally, and you died.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
R.I.P.
Exactly. Because he doesn't want anyone to contact
No!
him.
No! He's like us with a phone. He's like, don't have one, don't need one, don't like it.
Maybe he puts down, like, a P.O. box in Kentucky, though.
Well, he's got to have his mail delivered somewhere, you know? He gets, like, Witch's Digest.
Exactly, right.
Oh, yeah.
Girl.
He gets all the trash
Fan
stuff.
mail.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So good.
Yeah. That's it for me, buddy.
Okay. Well, I do have a little plug. Little media plug.
Too.
So, actually, my plug this week is something we've already talked about. It is that fan-made film, The Greater Good, I was talking about earlier.
So into it.
I really like it,
excited to see
especially with me being so upset at Rowling for so many reasons right now. Having a little bit of queerness, even though it's still not explicit, but whatever. We'll just live in the shadows. That's fine.
Oh.
It's fine. It's whatever. It's no big deal. I can stab people from the shadows and not get caught, so I ain't messed up. But it's a really gorgeous film, and it's short, right? It's less than 20 minutes, so just look it up on YouTube, The Greater Good, and try not to have a nocturnal emission when you think about it.
Okay.
It's hot. They are so
shit.
hot.
I'm
can't
gonna go
even
and watch
tell
it
you.
immediately.
Girl.
Well, I also have a little plug today in the vein of fan fiction and all things fandoms. I recommend for fans of Pride and Prejudice and for just anyone, check out on YouTube the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, which follows a modern day Elizabeth Bennet, a la Pride and Prejudice heroine, and her journey to love and hate Mr. Darcy all in one sitting and make life interesting by living alongside her sisters. And they do things like go to Pilates and do like whatever. They're just like a modern version of themselves, and it's really cute, and I love it, and I think you will too.
What's it called?
The Lizzie Bennet Diaries, and there's a YouTube channel.
Oh,
so check
cute.
it out.
We're very YouTube-centric today, aren't we?
Well, we're learning so much from you, Mickey.
Oh my god. And by that you mean that I have made our YouTube channel like the best channel on earth.
Yes, and while you're checking out Lizzie Bennet Diaries, definitely hop over to our channel, Beauty and the Bitch, and subscribe to it, where you can see all of our recording. You can't see them, but like hear them of our podcast. And Mickey's got some biz.
I'm doing this thing called a Let's Queer. It's essentially a Let's Play of Witcher 3. And let's see. Now, you're going to be hearing this months later. So we'll probably be on like episode, I don't know, 15 or 16 by the time you hear
can
this.
Binge watch.
Yes, Queen. It's a long game, but I'm making my way through it. I die a lot, though. A lot. I'm not very good.
Well, and this in all things.
Oh my gosh, but I'm witty, though. I might not be good, but I'm witty.
I am Lord Voldemort? Ron Burgundy?
I am witty. If you anagram the name Mick Parker, you can spell out I am witty. That's real facts.
I'm actually like doing the math in my head right now, and I'm just like not sure this.
Tracks. Totes. Tracks.
Okay, and while you're on YouTube, definitely check out my YouTube channel, also Literary Darlings, where there will like maybe be some stuff. And while you're giving us all the love and following us and rating and reviewing us on our iTunes page and elsewhere, definitely check us out on social media at Beauty and the Bitch on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Our Facebook page is blowing up.
It's lit.
In fact, you might not be able to get there because it's kind of like VIPs only. So like try to get in.
But also invite your friends.
Yeah, also, please invite all your friends. We'll take
Yeah.
anyone. We'll take anyone.
And you can check out my website where I have bloggy blogs at morganizedmess.com. I can't remember words. And
It's
I'm
hard.
also on Instagram with the same name at morganizedmess.
You got rid of more Gandalf.
Well, I also have that one.
Oh, you still have it?
Well, I opened another one to save it because I wasn't willing to relinquish it, but I did
Sure.
want to brand my Instagram
That
to
makes
match my
sense.
blog. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Oh, I thought you gave up more Gandalf, and I was shocked and horrified.
Girl, no.
You could maybe even make some money off that if you ever wanted to sell it.
Maybe.
I bet someone would buy it
We'll
from you.
see.
Girl, sell everything.
Yeah, like your children to the orphanage, like
Oh.
Moreau Font.
It worked out so well. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next time, babies.
Bye, baby.
Bye.
Bye, 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 bye.
I am Lord.
Pregnant. Oh.
I'm not. Now you're starting rumors.
Oh.
Do you have a home? Beauty in the bed.
You're done.
You look. Bitch, beauty in the bed.
Beauty in the bed.
Bitch.
Bye.